to the Popish Plot. I'm Mike.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Nate.
It's part 2 of Top 10 Catholic Podcasts. Top 10 Catholic podcasts? I can't talk.
It is part 2
Catholic podcasts.
of our top 10 Catholic podcasts.
What
It's
episodes.
just like a real podcast. I'm going to leave that in.
Yep, we're
No.
editing it out.
No, you can only leave it in after you say, I'll edit that out.
We'll edit that out.
No, it's going to stay forever.
Yep.
So, last time, we talked about 4 fantastic Catholic podcasts.
Number 1, of course, being our good friends over at The Armchair Catholic.
Partially number 1, because they are our friends.
Yep.
We've been on their show, they've recommended our show, and we know them in real life.
Yep.
But now we move on to the next 3.
So, Mike, what's next on your list?
Next on my list is a super nerdy Catholic podcast,
Ooh.
The Liturgy Guys.
Oh.
It's produced by the Liturgical Institute at Mundelein Seminary in the Archdiocese of Chicago, and they talk about the liturgy and the importance of doing the liturgy.
Mundelein Seminary, by the way, just to throw a little throwback to our previous episode, previously, Bishop Robert Barron was Father Robert Barron.
And he was the rector
rector of Mundelein Seminary. So, clearly the seeds he planted are taking root.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he's filmed a promo for the Liturgy Guys endorsing the work of the Liturgical Institute.
Excellent.
Anyway.
Well, it is important. I mean, we have the little copy of the Roman Missal instructions in the back. And every once in a while I thumb through to be like, visiting priest said to do this. All right, it is allowed.
It's not prohibited. So, in recent weeks, the Liturgy Guys have been doing an extended study of Sacrosanctum Concilium, which was the Second Vatican Council's constitution on the Divine Liturgy. And
And also probably something saying 5 times really fast would be super hard.
they've done that with other documents, and there's one where they pronounce it, I can't yet, and then every time someone says it, they say Gesundheit, or God bless you, as if you've sneezed.
Gaudium et
Yes.
Spes?
No, it's...
Because that does sound like a sneeze.
It's a document on music by St. Pius X.
Oh, okay. I was really just hoping I would say Gaudium et Spes, and you'd be like, Gesundheit.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm particularly interested in listening to the Liturgy Guys because I care passionately about the liturgy, and it's an intersection of 2 of my favorite things, Catholicism and being super nerdy about stuff. Also, since this year marks the 50th anniversary of the promulgation of the Mass of Paul VI, it's a very interesting time to be talking about liturgy, how we do liturgy, and how we can better do liturgy to give God the worship that is his due.
Absolutely.
Jess?
My choice for this week is called Shoot the Shiitake. And yes, it was named that because it sounds almost like you're going to swear.
We're going to shoot the shiitake.
I think they need to go and slow down the last word. We're going to shoot the shiitake.
So, what do they do when they're shooting the shiitake?
Well, it's done by Father Leo, who you might have seen on various things. He had a TV show on the Food Network for a while. He beat Bobby Flay. He belongs to
In a contest, not physically.
No. Although he was a black belt martial artist at one time, so he probably could actually physically beat him as well.
I do not oppose either.
Bobby Flay really does sound like the victim of violence. His name is Flay. Regardless, I think Father Leo's last name was Petalinghug.
Yes. But as we learned from, ministers at our church, if you have a Filipino last name, it's unpronounceable by Americans, so don't even try.
Well, if he's Filipino, then I wonder if he's also able to pray in tongues like our religious head director.
Well, he did come over from the Philippines as a small child, so I don't know if he knows the languages.
That's fair.
But I picked this because I followed him for a while on Facebook and YouTube, and there was a certain point in which I actually stopped following him because he has very strong opinions that he's willing to share with people, and I'm like, yeah,
But I don't share those opinions.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sure.
And it was at this time when Deacon was like, get rid of anything that, increases your blood pressure that you're looking at social media. But on this show, he talks to people from all sorts of walks of life. And
They shoot the shiitake.
yes, oddly, he's had a number of ones that end up being much more religious than he expected. Like, he randomly was on a pilgrimage and talked to this one guy who happened to speak English that was holding a protest for, like, bringing back the king of some country. But anyway, so it's interesting because he'll have all sorts of people on from all different things. You know, he'll point out in the beginning he doesn't necessarily agree with them all, but you hear their story, you hear his thoughts on their story. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of interesting stories. Like, the very first one he did was someone who works with him, who was a Buddhist ex-con.
Sure.
All right.
And
I'm going to assume he was ex-con first and then Buddhist later. Is, you know, if he was a Buddhist, I suppose there are things that you can get arrested for.
Not all Buddhists are as nonviolent as Harrison Ford would have you believe.
That's fair.
It was
and
one
there
of
are
those things
things that you
where
could be
prison,
doing, you know.
Yes, and then he had him on later,
mm-hmm.
and having, worked with him in his organization that helps ex-cons by teaching them how to cook, because
mm-hmm.
that's his thing.
Yeah.
He is, as of the time the last one was on, in RCAA, so.
Huzzah! The way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yep.
Nate?
Well, for this episode, I have chosen Pints with Aquinas as one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. Pints with Aquinas is a great little podcast, at least in my estimation,
mm-hmm.
done by Matt Fradd, who was a former apologist for Catholic Answers way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically asked the question of if you could sit down at a table with a pint and St. Thomas Aquinas, what would you talk about?
That'll settle the Manichees.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. But no, what he quite often will do is he will take, a question that somebody might ask
mm-hmm.
of the Catholic Church
mm-hmm.
and then go and do a dive into the Summa to find what St. Thomas would have said about that. And he's tackled a lot of different topics from, I don't know, lying.
Ah, yes.
Quite oftentimes it's the things that seem like the gray lines.
Was Aquinas the one who said that you can't lie, but you can totally, murder someone to save someone's life?
I believe, yes. I believe St. Thomas was the one who said that you cannot lie about anything ever. It is always a sin to intentionally deceive someone. However, I believe there is the allowance that you could tell somebody something which you believed to be absolutely true, which would work around it.
Well, again, if you believe it's true, then you're not lying. You're saying something that's untrue, but a lie implies intent.
Say for example, the question that was used was if like Nazis came to your door, and they wanted to know if you had any Jewish people in your basement.
Yes.
You could substitute a term for Jewish people that they would interpret to mean that you did not have any Jewish people, but that you don't actually have. So, no, I don't have any filthy rats hiding in my basement. That's not a lie.
Because you and they intend the words to mean different things. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
You told them a truth, but you simply told them a truth that you believed they would misunderstand.
So your intention was to deceive, but.
Yes.
But
no, I really enjoy a good deep dive on theological stuff. Mm-hmm. So, as obvious with my Council of Trent from before, I like to take things that are real in this world right now
mm-hmm.
and go and find out the theological roots behind them. And that's something that he quite often does. He does have some episodes where I swear I can smell toast.
Because there was one time when we were driving, and it was, we're driving for like 12 hours, where I'm like, we have to change it to something else, because he read a lot of Thomas Aquinas, where I'm like, I need something light and airy that I don't have to think about.
Can I laugh for 5 minutes?
I believe that particular episode was discussing whether or not God could be eternal.
Yeah, so it took a super deep concept and used a super deep thinker.
And then was
And
part
I'm like,
two.
I'm just driving through Ohio. It's bad enough we're in Ohio.
And unbeknownst to me at the time that I started that was part 2 of a two-part episode, and so we missed all of part 1, which was the walk into the pool. We jumped in at the
right
deep
end.
end.
Sure. So, Pints with Aquinas, Shoot the Shiitake, the Liturgy Guys, and the Armchair Catholic. The next 3 + 1 of our top 10 Catholic podcasts.
If you haven't already started listening to one of these, we certainly recommend you give them a try.
It's more work for Jess, so we'll put links to all of those down below.
Yep. And if you happen to have...
That's not too much work.
We'll try to think of something more burdensome for you.
Okay.
If you happen to have a favorite podcast, whether it's one of these, one of the ones we've already mentioned, or one we have not mentioned yet, please go put it down in the
Comments?
comments. In the comments below.
You could be the one to introduce us to our next favorite podcast.
You could. Because I am always looking for a new favorite podcast.
Yeah, he goes through podcasts like they're candy.
Subscribe to our channel. Continue to watch lots of Catholic YouTube videos. Ring the church bell so that you be notified when tomorrow's episode is uploaded, because vLent is relentless. And until then,
remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.
Lent's not over yet.
It will never be over.
It seems like it should be over.
It'll never end.
Never end.
It's been a very long time.
Hope is your enemy in this situation.
I'm pretty sure hope is an important Christian-y thing.